Hopefully everybody can hear me out there. Welcome to Tequila Tuesday, brought to you by Sandoso and powered by Topia. And my friend Sam is here helping everybody navigate around and getting used to this new world, this new metaverse experience, if you will. There's a couple places to go hang out. If you've got a question, kind of operating as our queue, there's a big green square kind of just to the right of the middle. That's where you go hang out. You'll see Sam's yellow avatar there. That's meant to be the queue, or if you have a question, you just want to wait in line, that's where you go hang out. I see Larry is right by there. Ashley's right by there. And for those people who have their question and they come off mute, they'll go to the on air section where that little light blue box is. It says question zone and on air with a little microphone. So that's where you go hang out if you're the one whose question is being asked right now. We're supposed to be talking tonight about objections and objection handling. And so I wanted people to come and bring some of the objections that you're facing my way and let me think through and see if I can't give you a good response, a good alternative to maybe what you're trying right now, or confirm that you're doing things the right way. And sometimes there is no objection. There's no way that you can get around the objection is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it just is what it is. So we can get started whenever y'all want. And welcome to Tequila Tuesday. And who's got objections that they're dealing with that they need some help with? I know Ashley had a question that she posted, and I told her to show up. So maybe if we can get Ashley to step up to the mic, she can go first. She's in the queue. Head on over to the blue area. There you go, Ashley.
Am I good?
You are good. How's it going?
It's good. How are you? It's Tuesday.
I'm all right. Yeah, we made it.
So far. Yeah, my question isn't really about objections, although it is related because there's a few objections we've gotten because of a specific competitor that's been just dropping their pants on price before we even get into the situation. But all that aside, they just went through layoffs, and it's a lot of, I don't want to be a jerk, right? But I do, sorry if you can hear kids in the background, but I do want to take advantage of the fact that this top competitor is now, I mean, I feel like there are some things I can throw out if I'm talking to somebody who's actively in evaluation against them and just say like, hey, how is this affecting your evaluation? Like, how are they going to support you when they've laid off X% of their workforce? But I'd like to hear from you how you'd handle that.
I think that there is a way to do it and take advantage of the situation that's not kind of re-rolling the bus over top of them, you know? I like the phrasing that you did at the end where you said, you know, how are they handling this for you? Or how's this going on over there? It must be kind of tough for them. How are they handling that right now? How are they working with you through this transition? You know, are you finding any challenges with XYZ, whatever the thing is, you know, getting somebody on the phone or getting response to your tickets or anything like that? So I think it's totally fair game to ask those kinds of questions and get them thinking. As far as the price cutting goes, I mean, I would attack that pretty hard. You know, I would say things like, in my experience, most people who are slashing prices are doing so for a reason, and those reasons are rarely good, right? I mean, calls into question like what value they're delivering or their confidence level in delivering the value of whatever they used to provide and used to charge people. If those are going down, what you're receiving is possibly going down, right? Kind of smells of desperation, et cetera, et cetera. And I would not play the price cutting game with them at all, right? I'd say, you know, there's a reason we charge what we charge. We stand by the value that we provide. we're doing well, we're doing strong, we're adding people here, we're adding people there, growth of the company is steady, solid, whatnot. I'd be asking myself questions about whether I want to commit to working with somebody who, from the outside looking in, looks like is struggling. He's cutting headcount, he's cutting their costs, right? From the outside looking in, it looks like they're barely hanging on and trying to survive. So I'd be asking myself those questions if I was you. So I think that stuff is fair game.
What about, like, if I had a conversation with someone in the past who decided to go that route because of price? Is there a way to kind of like start that conversation again without it being really crappy? I have kids here, so I can't say other words.
I don't think that it has to be crappy. I think that it's just, hey, Ashley, we talked back in January. You went this particular direction with so-and-so. I've heard there's been a lot of changes going on over there. Wondering if you've been affected by any of that stuff. Always here to help. Would love to re-engage you and see how things are doing. I think doing something as simple as that, you're alluding to the fact that you know what's going on and it's probably not good, but you're not calling it out overtly, right? I think that's probably enough to try to engage. And if they're frustrated or pissed off or, really ready for that conversation, they'll probably come your way.
Yeah. I'm trying not to say I told you so because I feel like.
Yeah, you don't have to do that part.
I'm not going to do that, but I really want to inside.
I think just sending a note that says, hey, I heard there's some changes that have gone over there, and I've heard from some people that they're a little bit frustrated. Like, I think that's tongue in cheek enough of I told you so.
Yeah.
They'll get the message,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Welcome. Yeah. In case you just joined us, the big green square that says have a question, stand inside the box, that's meant to be the queue where you go to stand in line. And the light blue box that says on air is where you go to ask your question. There's also a little banner that says question zone with an arrow pointing to the on air section. I see Kelly at the bar, Tom walking around, Larry standing around, John standing around, David standing around, Will standing around, Jason moving all over the place. So if you got some questions, got some objections you want to try to talk through and work through, let's get to them. This one's got to be interactive here, people. I didn't bring a whole speech on objection handling. No objection handling slide deck. It's meant to be bring your objections to me. Let's see what we can do. A couple people in the queue. Larry or Will, one of you can walk over to the on-air section and ask your question if you want. Will, you're there. Oh, and there you go, Will. You're on mute at the moment. That's got to be on your end. There you go.
It's to the nail, Larry. How's that? Sorry about that.
No worries, Larry's
and the interwebs. I don't know if this qualifies as an objection. I'm taking a host of interviews with SaaS. I don't know anything about SaaS, but I have relatively large deals and etc. But I don't know anything about SaaS. But I've taken a lot of SaaS interviews. The age thing is something. It's more than I thought. And I guess I'm looking at, which is fine. It's actually, it makes sense on both sides. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. I guess for perspective, it seems like, and tell me where I'm wrong. Again, I really don't know anything about it. When you're looking like enterprise sales as not just as a dollar amount, but like you're dealing with a matrix, you're dealing with multi-party negotiation and et cetera, really. Compared to like SMB, mid-market, it seems like what most people are talking about. what I'm finding in the SaaS world is that mainly, even if they say the word enterprise, they're probably talking about SMB, they're probably talking about high transaction and etc. Where is the game changed from what I understood? I really don't know, but that enterprise sales is a relative rarity, and it's mostly like a land and expand kind of. Is that mainly what happens, especially if they're just like
Well,
funded to?
there's a
And I'm
few.
really like early startups. What's that framework? I guess I'm scratching my head on all that.
Yeah, there's a few different questions that you've got there.
Yeah.
Number one, I would say people misuse the labels and terms all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I think people just craft their own definitions of them. So I don't think that they think that they're misusing them. So I don't think it's being done in a deceitful, kind of
Right.
way.
It's not malice. Yeah.
I don't think there's malice behind it, really. When I was first getting started in sales, enterprise sales meant to me like $1 million deals plus.
Right.
Now I think people think 6-figure deals is enterprise.
That's what I hear, and it's mainly that they think that it's the number, which is fine. It's more like a process. The way I think about it, it's more of a process differentiation than a dollar amount. All those things.
Yeah, so I think that your way of thinking about it is not the most common way.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think about it in terms of complexity of sale only. When I hear enterprise sales, the first thing I think about is the sticker price.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I think about is the complexity of the sale, the length of the sales cycle being close third tied to complexity. It's those kinds of things for me. It's how much does this cost? How complex is the deal to get done? How many different people are in the buying committee? How long is the sales cycle? How long is implementation potentially? How long is the contract term potentially? I have a client who's in government, and we were just talking about the differences between 2, 3, 5, and 10-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody in SaaS doing 10-year deals.
Sure,
right?
Yeah, it's defense.
That would be much more of an enterprise kind of deal to me. It's a couple $1 million deal with the government, super complex, big price tag, lots of different buyers, long sales cycle. But I think people, use the term now and they think of it as like, oh, it's a 6-figure deal. I'm doing like enterprise. I don't really know why. I think people got sold this bill of goods for a long time that you started in SMB and then moved to mid-market and then moved to enterprise. And that was like some big progression of how you made more money and were doing better in your career. And so I think employers kind of pulled the bar down a little bit to try to attract people. They dangle this enterprise, moniker in front of people. Now you see these roles called strategic account executive, which in many cases is like supposed to be above enterprise account executive, So that's what I'm seeing,
Sure.
and thinking.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. And one more thing, I could go on by long. In terms of like comp plans, it seems again what I keep running into are early-ish. Again, they certainly have less than 10 mil in any repeatable. They're probably funded 20 mil or less. That horizon. It seems like even thoughtful people haven't thought that much about the comp plan. Like they'll talk about the front end and OTE, but like how you get to that OTE, they might have, when you scratch the surface, they're thinking about it might not track. But I guess fundamentally, they probably haven't thought as much about it. Either they're being coy or they haven't thought about as much about it as you might estimate under that circumstance. Does that seem right to you, that there's kind of a seat of the pants on comp plans early stage, or is that?
I would say that it's very, very common.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'd use the phrase that it seems right, because that makes me feel like I'm endorsing it. Like that's what it should be. But at these earlier stage companies, they haven't thought about it because it's not a reality for them yet.
Right.
So they're putting off thinking about things, and they don't really know. They don't really know like what is the deal actually going to look like, right?
Right. They probably haven't even done good pricing work, really. Yeah.
No, they probably haven't done good pricing or packaging work. They don't know the right term. They probably don't know the right ICP even. And so they're sort of saying like, okay, William, I'm comfortable paying you, 250,000 OTE. This is what we think, your quota is going to be. And
quota's like 5X or whatever.
Well, yeah, we'll figure out like a way to get you to your OTE, and they kind of assemble, on down the line. I mean, you should try to get as much specificity as possible, but I think if you're going for very early stage organizations, you have to be comfortable with this kind of ambiguity.
Sure.
Because almost nobody has it dialed in. And even if they did have it dialed in, like, what does it mean? I could put an amazing looking comp plan in front of you with this quota, and it's like, well, nobody's ever done that before.
Right. Yeah.
So that's part of it, man. And if they don't have like a VP of sales or a good sales leader at all, then the founder, they don't know how to build a comp plan.
They've never been and said they're a product guy or whatever.
Yeah.
That seems to really be the case, which is fine.
They don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to do it, So they're delaying that. They're trying to focus on other things initially. So if all of that stuff is really bothersome and worrisome for you, then I would avoid those types of gigs. If you don't care about that kind of stuff, then I think it's okay. And as you move along, you'll become more,
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And for me, I guess it's one of those things that one of the drawbacks of sales, whatever the context, is that somebody's going to try to fuck around with your bread at some point. You know what I mean? You get it. It's ubiquitous in a way that is shocking to me. So nailing stuff down early. It's not that ambiguity is fine, but it's that I know when the rubber meets the road that even well-meaning people, not just dipshits and scumbags, but well-meaning people will try to massage a thing or figure something out. It just gets wonky if there's not specificity out front. But that makes sense. I appreciate that answer.
It does. And like I said, people just don't know. Like, we might agree, for example, William, that I'm going to pay you 10% on every 1-year deal you sell. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the first deal you sell might be a 3-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, what I had put on paper to you, we didn't account for. And
Right.
Here we are making it up kind of on the fly.
Sure.
So I sympathize with you, and it is kind of frustrating, but it's a little bit of kind of what you signed up for if you go to a really early stage place.
Sure.
You're doing more of an enterprise kind of sale where we don't exactly know how this stuff is going to go down.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Right on. All right. If you just showed up, there's a big green square that says stand inside the box if you have a question. That is the queue. That's the line there. And then there's a big light blue box that says on air next to the question zone. That is where you go if you have a question and you want to come off mute and ask it. We're talking about objections and different scenarios that you're running against and trying to come up with perhaps new and different ways to overcome or push through those objections. Larry Drum is currently the closest person to the on-air square. There he is. What's up, Larry? I'm good, man. Good to see you.
Since then, me and my marketing team has set up the product and develop it and get it ready to start marketing and start selling it. I've learned more details about this product than I ever wanted to know, but I know it. And it's hard not to try to educate people, because that's what I want to do, because they think they know, but they don't know shit, to be honest with you. But the product that we sell, it's a big video wall. It's made of a bunch of components, and those components, there's 3 of them. And we have exactly the top 3 components that make up the product. Now, there's people in the space that are the well-known brands, all come out of China with their name on it, that sell it for 3 to 6 times more than I can sell it for. And when I'm talking to people, they're like, well, how can I trust you I'm like, well, I can show you all the data. I don't know if I should show them the data of who all the top people are, who the component manufacturers are, what the certifications are. Should I just try to overwhelm them with facts? Or, because they go, do you have a case study? Well, we haven't sold one yet. How do I have a case study? So I'm not there yet. It's just kind of
so
a launching pad.
Let's try to do this, Larry, because there's a few different, there's actually a bunch of different little objections inside of what you just said. So can you try to go through each of them one by one? So one, for example, was, do you have a case study?
Right. And the answer to that is no.
Okay, but we don't want to only say no.
Okay.
So what we might say instead is, we don't have a case study right now in your area that would be relevant to you. We're just going to market in XYZ area for the first time. We're actually looking for flagship partners, potentially like yourself, who we can work closely to build and create these kind of case studies and help you get a little bit more exposure and get your name and your word out there and all that kind of thing. That's always been my response. I try to make it a little bit of a tit for tat. It's like, yeah, Larry, we don't have any real estate agents in Wyoming yet, so I can't give you a case study or a reference out there. What I can do is I'm looking for somebody to kind of bust down the door in Wyoming, and you be the guy that becomes our case study, that becomes our testimonial out there. We'll put you on the website. We'll write a little blog post about you, press release, whatever you have at your, disposal or your utility. So that's kind of how I phrase it. I just own it and say, no, I don't have a case study out there in your area yet that would be relevant to you. I'm hoping to find a flagship partner for that, and maybe you be that person. So that's that one.
You be the first one. Yeah, that's good.
So that's that one. What was some of the other ones that you had in there? One of them was like, should I overwhelm them with data? But what is the actual objection that leads you to think, I wonder if that's the move I should do?
Well, I know for a fact there are the top two component manufacturers for all three components, and everybody's using the same exact components, and they all have the same certifications like FCC, UL, ETL, all the stuff you want, and they all have it. The big difference is the big guys have set up shop in America, spending millions of dollars in infrastructure and overhead, and they're charging these crazy prices. And I don't have to.
This is sort of okay. This sort of reminds me. Do you know the story of Patron Tequila in Las Vegas specifically?
I know Patron Tequila, but I don't know the story.
Well, I should hope that you know them, Larry. Patron spends more money in marketing in the market of Las Vegas than every other tequila brand spends in the entire world every single year, all put together.
Man.
Follow? So they have done that to convince the public in the world that Patron is actually a really high-end tequila, and so they charge an exorbitant amount for a tequila that is like the tequila version of like a Budweiser. Okay, so that's my analogy that I'm drawing. It's like you have these people that have everything, and they're available, and they jack up the price because they have this big name brand. And so you're like a little guy saying, we have the same exact stuff minus the 6x price. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So the objection would sort of be like, well, why would I go with you when I can go with these other people who have, been around forever? Maybe that's a common way to phrase it. Okay. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So my response to that type of thing is always, well, you don't have to, but here's why I think you should. I like to work with the little guy. I don't like to work with the largest customers out there. We're not the largest vendor out there. Those people don't care about you. You're a line item on a spreadsheet to them. Whereas with us, we get to put in a lot more time and energy and effort with people like you who are on the up and up, and we get to grow with you. And that's something that matters to us. That's still one of our core values as a company. And in doing that, one of the advantages is we're not trying to bleed you for every red cent you found under your couch cushion. So We have all of the same materials and we can offer it to you at a significantly lower price. I'm happy to show you under the hood, show you all the parts and components, show you item by item how the pricing is the same and how it compares. And that's why people work with us. People work with us because they get that kind of mission. They don't want to work with this big monolith company that doesn't really care about them. They're tired of paying exorbitant prices in a commoditized kind of marketplace when they don't have to. And that's why they're choosing to work with somebody like me. That would be some sort of response like that. If I knew more about what you were doing, that would be the type of response I think that I would create.
And that's the kind of story we're telling people. Is look, you can spend all the money with the ones you know and spend a lot more than you should. Or you could go with a brand you don't know as well and make more money, because in this industry I'm in, the margins on the hardware has gotten so thin that they just don't make a lot of money anymore. So they start to sell services to make up for that. But with this, they can write their own ticket. And for me, what gets me jazzed is helping these companies, like you said, not the big boys, but the next tier down that are trying to get to that next level, and they can get there.
I think you got to engage in that you got to engage in that dialogue. You got to almost have like a Jimmy Hoffa style, like I'm speaking on behalf of the union, like the working man kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're here for the little guy type of thing. And I would really focus on like how much it will impact their margin, you know, and maybe you can do a quick analysis, or you've got data that says, hey, the average person that works with us, we end up saving them X number of thousands of dollars a month in all these parts. That's why people work with us.
And I think that's part of my problem, is I assume these business owners know. They're probably getting 2 or 3 quotes anyway.
No, they don't.
One's coming in at 500,000 and I'm coming at 100,000. They can write their own ticket.
I feel like I learned a long time ago that people in decision-making positions are a lot more dumb than we think they are.
Yeah, I agree.
So I try not to make that assumption. You know, one other thing that you might consider trying is just really calling out, like, what are you afraid of? Like, I know you're not afraid of making more margin. I know you're not afraid of, spending less per component or per part or whatever. What are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid that we're like not going to have the parts? We're not going to ship them to you. We're just going to like leave you hanging, that we're going to disappear or go out of business. Like, what are you actually worried about?
That's a good one. I like that.
Really like try to call it out and make them be very specific.
And then deal with that. Yep.
Yeah. And then that'll be a new objection. That'll be like, well, Larry, I don't even know if you'll be in business next month.
Yep.
You know? Or, we used to get people to say to us, well, how do I know so-and-so is not going to buy you? And I'd be like, what difference does that make?
Nothing.
Well, then they'd say, well, what if somebody buys you and raises your prices like 10 times, what they are right now or whatever? I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about how we would structure a deal to make sure that you would be unaffected by that.
Yep.
So, stuff like that, I think.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Vicky Gurney is the closest to the on-air section. I don't know if you've got a question or not, Vicky, but the green box is for the queue if you've got questions and you're kind of waiting in line. The light blue box where it says on air is where you go if you've got questions or an objection that you want to try to work through. I'll say it again. This is not one of those Tequila Tuesdays where the presenter, me, has a 30-minute slide deck prepared. The only way this engagement here tonight works is questions driving these conversations and us talking through some objections and challenges that you all are facing. Could be objections in your sales pitch, your sales process, something that you're getting in the interview process or promotion process. Anything at all, really, that we could kind of work through to improve your rebuttals. Ramiro is on air. What's up, Ramiro? You can take yourself off mute.
What's up, man? It's funny. I literally just logged on and it dropped me on this spot.
Oh, we lost him. Ewing or Sam, maybe you can help Ramiro get he's in the right place, and then he kind of moves off.
No, Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly.
I don't have a question right now. I literally just logged on and it dropped me on air.
Right on
Put
the
him
right on the spot. Put him right on the spot, man. We're talking about objections and how to handle them, and trying to come up with new and creative ways. Tell me what you sell.
I sell content marketing services to VPs, CMOs. So you can think things like SEO, PPC, LinkedIn ads, things like that.
What's an objection that you get that drives you nuts?
So right now, recession is among us. We're a premium agency, so our services aren't cheap by any means. So definitely the price is too high compared to some of our competitors.
And what are you doing right now to try to overcome that objection? What is your current rebuttal to that?
Showcasing as much value as possible, really diving deep within the discovery to allow them to realize what their pain points are, and putting them in a situation putting them in a situation where they can see what the future is like without going about solving these issues.
And what kind of picture do you paint if they don't go about solving these issues?
Lack of MQLs, SQLs, not hitting traffic targets, not hitting revenue targets.
Yeah. Okay. I would paint a fairly bleak picture if I was you. It sounds like you are kind of, but I might try to make it a little bit more hyperbolic.
Right.
That the way you just described it, and we'll just pretend, even if you do it differently when you're on the phone, but if that's how you do it, that was very scientific, right? I might make it more hyperbolic, and just ask them, like, what do you think is going to happen if you miss these MQLs and all these numbers? What happens to the team size over there? A couple people probably get cut, right?
Yeah. Damn, I like that.
And I didn't even make it about them yet. It's just like, how many people are on your team again, Ramiro? I'm just role playing.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, like, how many people are on your team over there, Ramiro? Ramiro says, "Oh, we got 6 or 7." So now it's Scott. So how many of those 6 or 7 you think are still around by January 1st if we miss these MQL numbers and these revenue numbers and whatnot? All of them? You think we got that big of a runway? Like, I talk to people like you in your role all the time. Most of them know it's their head in the guillotine too, right? So you got your people that you got to look out for. It's you got to look out for. So, question for you. If you don't do this, what are you going to do instead to solve this problem? Because you have to solve this problem. You're either going to do it yourself, which you already have demonstrated that you have an inability to do or an unwillingness to do, okay? Or you can work with us, or you go work with XYZ competitors who you're already talking to. And if you make the wrong decision here, it can be catastrophic. If you do nothing, it is going to be catastrophic. So I think I would try to isolate who they're considering and get into a bit of a like competitive landscape kind of conversation. So when they say, well, I could work with Scott's agency, he's 25% of the cost. I would dig in and be like, okay, well, 25% of the cost for how much of the services? How much of the content, like let's literally break down like what are you getting and then try to figure out like what kind of ROI they might get from that low level experience, right? So those are a few ways that I might try to, go about it. Granted, I don't have any context for your sale and you just parachuted in here, but that's how I think about it, trying to isolate it a little bit like that.
No, I love that. I always feel just a little reluctant to go as hyperbolic, but I'm definitely going to start doing that because you're definitely not the first person I've heard say it. So I feel I just got to sack up and start saying that.
I think how you say it is important. Not just saying it, because you could say hyperbolic things in this really like animated, absurd, over the top sounding way, or you can say them kind of understated with like concern and slowing down your voice and lowering your cadence of lowering the tone of your voice type of thing, right? So
that late night DJ voice.
Exactly. 2 a.m. R&B DJ voice. Exactly. Then ask them like, hey, what's going to happen to the team if y'all don't solve this over there? What happens if we just kind of keep kicking the can down the road and don't do anything until January? Something's going to have to change between now and then. We might end up talking in January and a couple of those people that are on your team right now might not be there no more. Or the hole you're currently digging for yourself is just going to get deeper. So you can say, I don't think you should be afraid to say like some hyperbolic things. Just watch your tone a little bit. Then you get away with it easier.
I've listened to some call record, and this is just me giving myself excuses. I've listened to some call recordings of me trying to use that type of voice, and initially, I would just speak way too fast, so it would sound very unnatural. Now that I've slowed my tempo when I speak, I feel like I can start introducing it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd work on that. That's stuff to practice and role play with yourself, with your colleagues, with your sales manager, whoever you have there. I wouldn't expect you to just go out the first time and nail it. But it's something to work on,
Oh yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. Who's there? I see somebody else who's real close to the on-air area. Oh, and they run away quickly. Fear, shame. Who else has got questions? Is that Selma? Selma, you chicken. Who else has got some objections that they want to talk through and work on? Anybody? Ewing's got one.
Hey, Scott.
What's up, man?
I think we've all been told over the years that the cost of doing nothing is a really good instrument for salespeople to use to keep deals alive. And also that most B2B sales end with no buy of anything. It's not like you lost, it just nothing happened. Selfishly, we're standing in our platform. For someone like us, the cost of doing nothing is kind of tricky because they haven't done anything like this. So cost of doing nothing is you're on Zoom. Let's just say the cost of doing nothing is pretty hard to calculate. What's your B move? Like what's your next play?
Yeah.
Besides that, to keep deals going for maybe anyone in here that has kind of a newer product.
I think a lot of it is ego. I think it's about being the market leader and the first mover. You want to be perceived as a leader in the market or a follower. So one thing that I've said to people before, Ewing, is like, and I'm going to pretend like I'm pitching Topia. I might just say the metaverse is happening whether you want to believe it or not. So the question is whether Nike is going to be the first mover in this space and capture all that, kind of PR and that hype of like, holy shit, you see what they did, right? Or if you're going to let Reebok or Adidas or New Balance or whoever go first. And brands flip-flop all the time real fast in terms of how cool they are, in terms of what new things they're providing and how they're innovating. So you have to be very careful because your reputation over there at Nike is as an innovator, and all these other people follow you, right? So I think I hit people pretty hard in terms of, you want to be a leader, you want to be a follower. You want to be somebody who's a thought leader in the space, somebody who takes chances, or somebody who plays it super safe, who does nothing, who waits for somebody else to be the first mover advantage. You know how hard it is to play catch up once somebody like does the thing, right? So I think that could work when it's less about like pure dollars and cents or kind of ROI. It's about perception and how that perception can change the value ultimately of a brand. And I think for you all, that could be a big part of the story, because I know you're selling to really large, entities, right? Yeah. Cool. Is she back? Did Selma get brave? Couple people close to the question zone on air. Adri, is that you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I know sales with any type of software that you're doing, that once you get it across the line, execution is obviously very important. And usually it gets handed off to the customer success team or integration. But what would be some tips you have as a salesperson to keep oversight? Because users are usually not the decision makers, but they can definitely have influence if they have a negative experience or if they're just not using it.
Well, I need more detail, because you're not talking about a sale in the classic sense. It sounds like you're talking about a free trial or kind of PLG style motion where somebody shows up, they get the product for free, and then you're kind of out of the loop as a salesperson, and it's all about their user experience and kind of customer success. And only then maybe do you have the chance to talk to them again, or maybe you never have the chance to talk to them again at all. So I need to know a little bit more about your scenario.
Yeah, so I can give you more context. So if I sold a product to a large company that and I sold a suite, not just one product. So they purchased all 4 products on a global level, and 2 of the products highly successful, but one product is kind of struggling, and it's more because the users just aren't engaged. They are just, putting it on the back burner. So my concern is, okay, well, when it comes time for renewal, their bosses, the decision makers, will go to them and say, how did you like this tool? But from what I'm hearing with the customer success team is they're not really engaging and giving it a chance. And so that's what the battle is.
And you get paid on renewals?
Yes.
But you're not allowed to participate in the renewal selling process?
To somewhat, I can convince the decision makers, but if they have someone in back office who is part of an antiquated system and they never want a technology change in the first place, it just becomes difficult. So it's kind of battling people who are resistant to change and then not wanting them to ruin any future possible recurring revenue.
Well, for one, this is why I don't count people on renewals who are in sales. Because it's an absolute clusterfuck of organizational complexity. And Adriana is exhibit A for a salesperson who should be focused moving forward and is instead focused on something that should be behind her. So hopefully everybody takes that little lesson to heart. I don't really know what you can do at this point in time other than engage in a conversation internally about what our rules of engagement and what our process is around upselling, renewals, and when the salesperson is allowed to step in and try to participate and all that kind of stuff. As the objections that you would get would be CS sort of saying, well, sales is, stepping on our toes. They don't know all the details. They maybe are going to overpromise things we can't deliver, or they're going to, jack the price all around or something like that. You're going to have to be prepared for like all the reasons somebody would not want sellers involved. And you're going to have to overcome those things. Right?
Yeah.
And that would be the tricky part, I would think.
Definitely. I think also from further context, my company is headquartered in Switzerland. So the European sales model is very different than the American model. And we just launched in the US about 2 years ago. So half my battle is the fact that I'm wearing 1,000 hats and when I just want to be doing sales and trying to get new logos in the door.
Yeah. So future learning, probably worth asking those questions up front before saying yes to a role. So you totally understand and know what you're getting into, because it sounds like you've put yourself in a situation that isn't ideal for you in terms of what you want to be doing. Right?
Yes.
But so I don't know what to say other than, you have to engage with these people to figure out what, if anything, you're allowed to do to try to help with renewals, retention, upsell, that kind of stuff. Because really you shouldn't be focused on it unless you're in like a full cycle, full suite account management kind of role, where managing this one book of business that you have of like 5 accounts or 10 accounts is all you're supposed to be doing. Really all you should be doing is trying to bring in new deals. And they need to, from the sound of it, they need to do a better job with the onboarding experience, getting everybody onboarded onto the new product, adopting the new product, using the new product, having success with the new product, continued conversation with them so they don't go dark for a particular period of time, and then all of a sudden you try to show up when they're supposed to renew, and now you're trying to talk to them. So anyway, I don't know that I was very helpful. It's not clear what the objection is. It's more of just like a scenario that you find yourself in. Anyway, I tried. Who's next? Oh, there
Hi.
she is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was on my phone earlier, and every time.
Well, now I lost you. I could hear you, but then I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Maybe Ewing or Sam, can you help out, Salma? There you are. I see you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. I will try not to move at all. Sorry, I was on my phone earlier, and the feedback was the opposite of what I thought. You know, when you have your max setting on your thing and it goes up, and anyways, so I when I was running away, I was trying to get closer to use that. I am in a situation right now. I have a deal that I've been working on for about 3 months. So shortly after I started with this company, I ran a utilities campaign and was able to work on this deal up to now. We're at the pricing stage. They were looking at 6 companies. I happened to do outbound to the company at the right time because they were reevaluating the solution that they currently have, and their contract ends in October. I'm down to the last 3. I work for a startup. We're about 50 people. The 2 other platforms that I'm going up against are giants, and we're the only not known brand. The people I was dealing with are the people that are the end users and the budget holders, but the end decision maker I've never had a face-to-face with. They put through these 3 companies, the criteria they're looking at, and based on that, which one fits in each, and then the pricing. and it feels like it's out of my hands now, and I want to bring it back into my control. I called one of the guys today, and he said it's sitting with so and so, and he has the budget to move forward and decide which one they want to go with. What would be the best next steps from here?
Well, I think you need to engage the person who's the decision maker that you've never talked to. That's the challenge. So figuring out how to do that is the next move. I'd probably try to talk to the people that you have been speaking with, reconfirm that, you know, they really like your solution and possibly, even if it was up to them, would choose to work with you. And then say, hey, you and I are on the same team here. We'd love to work together. How do I get FaceTime with so-and-so? How can I help you, you know, get that done, or get any questions or concerns like alleviated? So I try to enlist the help of the people that I've already been talking to for so long to get FaceTime with this person that sounds like they're the ultimate decision maker. I don't think you have much of a shot of closing a deal if you don't talk to that person. Otherwise, you're relying on these other people to relay the information. And I've said many times before, that's an exercise in futility, because they don't know how to sell what you do, right? I think if you go ask them and say, hey, how did you explain this to your boss, the decision maker? The answer that we get back oftentimes is terrifying.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do. I think I'd go back to the people that you've been talking to, who are your influencers or hopefully champions, and try to figure out how you can partner with them and get their help in getting the right person, you know, on the phone.
Yeah. So he gave me the name today, and I emailed Alex right away. I emailed him just saying, I know that the pricing, we sent general pricing over, would love to spend some time one-on-one with you to go through the pricing and also like what deployment looks like.
But that's not help. That's not help, Selma. All you did was get a name. All you did was get a name of this person, and you sent a blind, basically, email.
Yeah.
What I would have preferred was a conversation with, let's just say Emma was, I'm looking at Emma. Let's just say Emma was like your influencer and champion, okay? I would have wanted you to go to Emma and say, hey, having a hell of a time getting so-and-so on the horn. I understand where you all are at. I need to check in with you to make sure this is something you still want to do and feel passionately about. Yes, it is? Okay, great. If it was up to you, you would pick us, right? Okay, great. I need your help, and you need my help getting this solution implemented, getting this deal done. How do we get Maureen, the ultimate decision maker, how do we get in the same room with her? Together, or just me, or whatever? What's the best strategy here? And I would have waited for Emma to kind of tell me. And I would have tried to get Emma to send a note that was like, hey, Maureen, this is Selma. We've been working super closely with her. Can we get it on the horn, you know, tomorrow at 9 a.m., talk through a few things as we move forward? I would have tried to do something like that, right? Rather than just blindly sending a message to the decision maker, which in this particular case, it sounds like you did. So that's what I mean when I talk about enlisting help, right?
Yeah. And I think that makes sense. I really want this deal. It would be the first one that's not founder led. And I want it. I think that was probably anything I can do now to mitigate the situation, Scott.
Well, I think you could still go back to whoever these influencers and champions are and let them know, you know, what you did, right? In hindsight, I think you moved too fast and jumped the gun because you really want the deal and you got overeager, okay? But at this point in time, I think you still can go back to those champions and say, hey, listen, I shot so-and-so a note. What can I do, you know, to help? How can I help you? Is there certain information that you know that they need that I can send over? Can you message them and kind of introduce me? Can you talk to them and get a call booked for the three of us, right? And I'm just asking what the hell can you do to help me? What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
We're on the same team. And the answer might be nothing, but
Yeah.
I'm not leaving that deal without doing that.
Yeah. Because it's an enterprise deal, so the process is even after this decision maker decides which one he wants to go with, he still has to pitch it to someone above him. But at least I want to win Alex over to then work on that next stage. But okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck. Keep me posted.
I will walk away now from this podium.
All right. Who's next? Who's going to head towards the light blue on-air question zone area? Talking through different objections, challenges that you're all having, trying to come up with some different new and interesting ways to get through it. Kelly, you gotta take yourself off mute, and then I think you're in the right spot. I can't seem to hear her, Sam or Ewing. Looks like she's in the right area, though.
Try again.
Yep. Whoop.
That worked, Kelly.
You can hear me.
I heard you
Well.
at the time. Yep.
All right.
There she is.
Sorry about that. Excuse me. I was shoveling pizza in my mouth. All right. So this is an objection that doesn't necessarily have to do with what I'm selling besides myself. So right now I have applied for one internal role as well as one external. Further along on the external one, but let's say that I don't wow them and I get we're not moving forward with you. Would you fight that objection?
Well, I would try to find out why, if I could. I don't know if that counts as fighting it as an objection. But if I got rejected, I would certainly, if you rejected me, I would try to reach out to you and say, hey, thanks for the feedback, or thanks for the note. Disappointing to hear that. Any feedback from me, anything that I should have done differently, or you would have, liked to see that I could have done better, or what have you. Just trying to get some kind of information. Now let's say that you give me that information, and it's information that is kind of like, in my mind, not true. Like, well, we would have picked you, Scott, but you never led a sales team before. And I'm like, whoa, what? Then I would probably fight, in the sense of I would reply back again and say, hey, sorry that didn't come through in the interview process. For the record, here's what I've done in this particular area. Respect your decision if you still want to hold to it, but if there's more for us to talk about, would love the opportunity to kind of re-engage. I could see myself doing that.
Yeah, I definitely feel comfortable with the feedback portion of it, but I didn't know if I should keep pitching myself without seeming like an arrogant bastard.
Well, it depends what keep pitching yourself means, because if it's something that's sort of like factually wrong, like you've never done full cycle sales, or you've never done customer success, you've never upsold somebody. If it's factually wrong, then I think you should write them back and be like, hey, I don't know how you got that impression. That's just literally not true. But if it's something that is kind of an opinion, they're like, well, I don't think you're the right, cultural fit, or I don't think that you have the, sales DNA that we're looking for, or something like that. Like, I wouldn't waste my time with that. So I would not try to rebut that, because I'm not really going to change somebody's mind. And honestly, either I did a lousy job of conveying who I am, or they're a freaking asshole and I wouldn't want to work for them anyways. So I don't think I would fight that one. I would fight something that felt factual. I would not fight something that felt just like opinionated.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, to piggyback off that, I need to go and rewatch your negotiating salary so that I can be prepared for when they do offer me both of the jobs.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a good question. Thanks for that. All right.
Get out of here.
And she's out. What we got? We're navigating this pretty good, I'd say, overall. Hopefully the on-air button is helpful to people. Shout out to Sam for helping put that together, even right before the show. I think the green have a question, stand inside the box kind of cue is helpful as well. I've seen a few people in there time to time. Got any more questions? Any more objections that y'all are dealing with, struggling with, that you want to talk through? Got to move yourself over to the on-air button. No? Anybody at the bar? Gabs, Tom, Jason? Emma's kind of near my platform. Marine, Mike Simmons, Sam. I don't know who JL is. Is that Kels? That is Kels. What else we got? Come on, don't be shy. Hey, Marine. Looks like you're on mute at the moment, Marine. I cannot hear Marine if she's talking right now.
Top right. There you go. You took yourself off. Try now.
Hi.
There she is. Hi, Marine.
Hi. I don't know if it's necessary objection, but I'm seeing that people are taking longer to make decisions. And some of them are saying, because they need to, with the, dollars are getting tighter and they have to just hold off, or talk to other people. I feel that there's just larger buying groups. Do you have a strategy around that?
Well, first of all, that's factual. That's not a you problem. That's a everybody problem. Mm-hmm. I think I read somewhere the other day that the buying committee is now somewhere between 7 and 13 people at different companies, which is like insane to me. Mm-hmm. Which is part of the reason it takes so long to get anything done. This is sort of why I think you have to do a very good job of finding pain early and often, articulating the value and why solving for this particular pain matters, and really stressing the urgency throughout rather than waiting for one particular moment. And I think I can't remember who it was. Earlier I was talking to somebody about it's like what's going to happen if you don't do anything and you just stand still? What does that look like? It was Ramiro, I think. And what's going to happen if you make the wrong choice? What does that look like? And walking people through all that kind of stuff. And, I had a conversation the other day with somebody who said, we're bleeding $100,000 a month by having a bad sales process. I'm like, okay, well, if you do nothing between now and then, you're going to bleed out $350K by the end of the year, right? Okay. So do you know what you're going to do to fix this on your own? No, I don't. Okay. You're talking to other people about this. Have they ever fixed this problem before? Well, I think they have. Okay, well, what are they saying that they would do in order to fix it? And I'm asking them these kinds of questions. And then I have the opportunity to remind them that, hey, I've done this many times before. This is how I would go about fixing it. And this is why. And so just continuing to stress like what you're dealing with, why it's important to fix, why you need to act now, what's at risk if you don't do anything about it. It's more and more important than it's ever been before. That's where everything has to start. Okay. Then you certainly have to get into, Selma's issue, which is you can't try to close deals without talking to everybody who's involved.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do a very good job early and often of finding out who all is involved. We should not be learning of an 11th hour decision maker at this point in our sales experiences. We've all been doing this long enough now that we should be asking those questions on call one, like who all is involved in this experience, in this process. That's the normal question people ask.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you the decision maker on this? Yes, I am. Those are smokescreen. Those are real easy, right? It's a much more powerful question to ask people about when was the last time you bought something over there? What was that purchase like? Where did the deal get slowed up and slowed down? You're going to have to go through that procurement process again. You're going to have to go through legal again. You got to go through that pain in the neck VP again. What are some strategies that we could deploy to get ahead of that stuff early if you wanted to get this done sooner? Who are the people that are going to feel left out of our next meeting if they find out about it and they weren't there? And why would they care? What is their role? What is their experience like? And saying that over and over and over, not just, the first call. I would do that on the first call. After I've done the next call, I'd say the same thing, right? Sometimes I jump back into deals and I say, has anything changed since the last time we talked? Did you all hire a new CFO by chance? So there's a new person that is part of the buying process involved. All of these things collectively, I think, give you the best chance of, success and speeding all that stuff up. I don't know that any one of them on their own is like, some big winner, right? But if you add up all those little tweaks and changes, that looks like a process done right.
Mm-hmm.
Process done right at scale, meaning at volume and done, not just once, but like 10, 20, 30, 100 opportunities in a row, that's where you're going to win deals.
Great. Thank you. Great ideas. Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Anybody else got time for maybe 2-3 more questions or objections or anything like that? One thing that I would tell you all to do, in case nobody else has questions, maybe I'll kind of leave you with one thing that I would tell you to do is write out all of the objections that you're running into, all of them. One of the things that I did a long time ago when I was first getting started or first building sales orgs, every single time I came into a objection that had never been asked before, I'd write it down. And then I'd start, keeping track of like how many times I heard this thing. And once I'd heard the same objection a handful of times, I kind of counted that as, okay, this is going to be a common objection. So I need to sort of script out my talk track of like, what am I going to say every time somebody asks me a question about pricing? What am I going to say every single time somebody says, well, I've never heard of you, and we're talking to the 2 largest companies in the world who do the same thing. And if you can get that out of your head and onto paper, and you're able to practice it and rehearse it over and over and over, that's where I feel like the success starts to come from, right? And if you're building an org, that's what you do to make it scale. That's how there's 20-something people here, and that's how I would teach all of you to overcome whatever objection it is. I'd want us all to try to do it the same way. And once we've got the words right, we focus on the tone and the cadence, and and the how in terms of the delivery. So write all these objections out that are common, script them out, and be prepared. And then you can rehearse them and practice them, and it's just like anything else. And at some point in time, after you've been at your role long enough, you kind of run out of new objections. And if you've mastered the rebuttals to all these objections, and you've mastered the delivery of them all, there's nothing left to be afraid of. You sort of have this attitude of like, well, whatever, I really don't care what you ask me because I have an answer for you. And I think that makes you feel, a little bit stronger, a little bit more confident, perhaps a little bit invincible even, as a seller. So that's my parting shot for tonight. Thanks for joining Tequila Tuesday. We'll see you all next week. Thanks to everybody at Topia for making this happen. Talk to y'all later.